The theorist W. E. B. Du Bois, Sociology 110, by Zuleika. Who was W. E. B. Du Bois? W. E. B. Du Bois's full name is William Edward Bogart Du Bois. He was an American sociologist, historian, author, writer, and editor who was a Pan-Africanist. Du Bois's background. W. E. B. was born February 23, 1868. He was born in Barrington, Massachusetts, a town predominantly European American. During his time there he attended schools with white students. He was praised for his academia by his white professors. In 1885 he attended Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee. After receiving his bachelor's degree from Fisk University, he was admitted to Harvard University. Upon completion of his master's at Harvard University, he was selected for a study abroad program at the University of Berlin in Germany. Du Bois lived a life of activism, but soon passed away on August 27, 1963. His education. Du Bois graduated high school as valedictorian in 1884. He received his Bachelor's of Arts from Fisk University in 1888. During his time at Fisk University, he taught in African American schools that were predominantly located in Nashville's rural areas. In 1888, he entered Harvard University and received his Master's of Arts in 1891. Between 1892 and 1894, Du Bois pursued graduate studies in history and economics at the University of Berlin on a Slater Fund Fellowship. In 1895, he received his doctorate in history from Harvard University. He then wrote his dissertation on the suppression of the African slave trade to the United States of America to receive his doctorate. His family. W. E. B. Du Bois's mother was a domestic worker and his father was a barber. His mother, named Sylvina Bogart Du Bois, was born in 1831. Although there isn't much about his father, what is known is that his father left the family while Du Bois was still very young. His mother died in 1884 when Du Bois was only 16 years old. After receiving his doctorate from Harvard University, he married Nina Gomer in 1896, and from that marriage they conceived two children. Sadly, Nina Gomer Du Bois passed away in 1950. He then remarried in 1951 to Shirley Graham Du Bois. Major theory. Du Bois is famously known for the double consciousness theory. It is a concept he explored in his 1903 publication, The Souls of Black Folk. He is also known for other studies, specifically in Philadelphia with regards to race and discrimination, concluding that both blacks and whites bear the responsibility of race relations. Most of his theories are focused on the tensions between African Americans and white Americans. He studied how this affects African Americans economically, psychologically, politically, and in many other ways. The double consciousness theory. The double consciousness theory was published in The Souls of Black Folk in 1903, which is a collection of 14 essays. It is noted as one of the most outstanding collections in American letters. The work is focused on the socio-economic and socio-political circumstances of African Americans following the Civil War and in the first years of the 20th century. This theory was greatly accepted among its fellow colleagues at Atlanta University, where he served as a professor between 1897 and 1910. Further, the theory states, this double consciousness, this seeing oneself through the eyes of the other world, explains the concept of race being defined by the dominant or majority group in society. This is a form of cultural relativism where the majority decides what is considered good and bad within their community. A specific excerpt from his piece explains exactly what this means. The Negro is a sort of seventh son, born with a veil and gifted with second sight in this American world, a world that yields him no true self-consciousness, but only lets him see himself through the revelation of the other world. It is a peculiar sensation, this double consciousness, this sense of always looking at oneself through the eyes of others, of measuring one's soul by the tape of a world that looks on in amused contempt and pity. One ever feels his two-ness, an American, a Negro, two souls, two thoughts, two unreconciled strivings. two warring ideals in one dark body, whose dog strength alone keeps it from being torn asunder. His role in American politics. Du Bois spent his life criticizing the social system during the Jim Crow era. He was heavily a part of the civil rights movement. Du Bois and others founded the Niagara movement in 1905. They were a protest group of African American scholars and professionals who participated in the civil rights movement. He also served as an editor for the NAACP's monthly magazine, The Crisis, where he empowered African Americans and encouraged them to be politically active while shaming white Americans. During 1944 through 1948, he assisted African Americans in placing grievances before the UN, where he served as a consultant. He was a member of the Socialist Party and served as co-chairman of African American Affairs. He also served as co-chairman of the Council of African Affairs in 1948. As you can see, he was very politically active. Pan-Africanism. Du Bois was a major proponent within Pan-Africanism, where he helped organize multiple meetings on behalf of Pan-Africans to free African colonies from European rule. In a series of congressional meetings, he condemned colonialism. However, little action was ever taken by those who were in power. He remained active in the Pan-African movement until his death, which was before Martin Luther's speech, "I Had a Dream." Was his theory controversial? Although his work was sometimes met with disdain among white Americans due to the era of integration, it was widely accepted among his colleagues. Among the top leaders within the African American community, he had conflict with Booker T. Washington. Booker T. Washington was another great and influential leader among the black community around his same time. They mostly disagreed on strategies that improved black economic and social progress. While Booker T. Washington focused on the black community's gaining of acceptance through working harder to elevate themselves up the social status, Du Bois disregarded this notion, stating, Washington's strategy would serve only to perpetuate white oppression. Du Bois's major accomplishments. Du Bois was the first African American to graduate from his high school. He was also the first African American to receive a PhD from Harvard University. He co-founded the NAACP and supported Pan-Africanism. He also wrote a total of 21 books, edited 15 of those, and published 100 essays and articles within his lifetime. He was awarded honorary doctoral degree from Humboldt in 1958, and he is still honored today. The end.